I listened to Taste the Future again last night. I think I've listened to it a couple of times before I gave you some feedback on it, I think. But that was very much as a critic. I was listening to it as with my doctor hat on, with my let's see what crimes Chris has committed here. Let's see what he's not doing that he should be doing. And I couldn't, to be honest, I couldn't really find anything that on that first listen. I think I told you. I think it's great. But I was listening to it with that forensic state of mind. So last night I listened to it as I was playing this daft game that I play, which doesn't require any sound. So I listened to music. You're in good company, because that's where I listen to most of my music these days. And so my eyes are occupied with flashes and bangs and things that are happening in the game, and I'm listening to your music, and it was brilliant all the way through. I'm terrible for remembering which is which, but there's the one where you sing this beautiful song. It's either track 2 or track 3. I'm trying to get it up. Why is it not coming up?
Me too.
Just gives me goosebumps all the time. Is it Drowning in the Sublime or Voices in the Strings? I think it's Drowning in the Sublime is I would say a very beautiful
Yeah, Voices
song.
in the Strings is... Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Voices in the Strings instrumental. So yeah, except for the vowel monster at the end.
Oh, that's the vowel monster one. Yes, that is brilliant as well. Because, as my first listen, I'm listening to it thinking, what is this meant to be singing, or what is this? Then I realise it's in the scenario that's been painted about the future trying to communicate through technology to the present. This is an iteration of that. It's like the future's trying, but it can't do it. So it's just getting the vowel sounds. Wow, 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 wow. It sounds completely mad, but it's utterly brilliant. And then this beautiful song, which gets better every time I listen and still gives me goosebumps. It's just great. And all the way through, and I was sitting there playing my game and I'm listening, I'm into it, and then suddenly it stopped, and it was, what, that can't be the end already. It was the end, my God. Okay, so we started it again. So I listened to it twice last night, and yeah, you've got some great sounds on there. The variety of tones that you use, the way that you blend synthesizers and guitars and your bass playing, and even the drumming as well. Do you play those drums, or do you use the sort of patterns from Easy Drummer? How do you do that?
I do both. It really depends on the song, the demand, and what patterns I find. Like sometimes I'll write a song with patterns. I'll just grab some patterns off Easy Drummer, lay them out, and then record on top of them. And then I'll go back and tweak those drum parts. Maybe move a ride cymbals around and different like things like that. Like, so sometimes I never even hit a stick or pick up a drumstick or do anything. It's just all mouse clicks. Sometimes the whole song is just me on my digital kit. It's almost always Easy Drummer, but it's whether or not I'm programming it or I'm playing it.
Yeah.
Quite often it's a combination of both. Whereas I'll, like, for the simplistic, straightforward stuff, I might grab a rhythm I like, but then if I need fills, I find it really hard to program a good fill. So a lot of times the fills are played, but the meaty parts are done there. Feet of the Dirt, which I think to me is like one of the better drum songs in the album. That one there, I played a lot of those drums, but it took me. I was a nightmare for me because I had these drums in my head and I just couldn't find them anywhere in there. And I had this monster drummer in my head, and I would go and I would play the same bar over and over and have it loop. Like I would pick like the same 2 bars I want, have it loop, so it records this, like keeps re-recording over itself, but it doesn't erase anything. And then go through and like pick like out of like 100 takes, like the one best one.
Wow.
So because that's what it takes for me to drum like that. Because that's when I listen back to Feet in the Dirt, like because that was one of the songs you critiqued for me like ahead of time, and the first thing you said is monster drummer, like good, like you were happy about it. And I was like, yes, that's what I wanted. I wanted to sound like I had like like Billy Cobham behind the kit or something.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like, oh, there's the drumming on the album is brilliant. I mean, throughout. I mean, we're used to hearing great drums these days because of the way technology has changed. It wasn't always the case that we would get great drum sounds and great drum playing. Sometimes, a lot of stuff from the 80s, 90s was, pretty pallid drumming. It was very, very low key. I think Phil Collins did a lot to change that when he made his big impact with the drums, with that big sort of gated drum sound that he had on a few things. People sort of sat up then. I remember that having a big impact on people. And the kick drum on Blue Monday, believe it or not, people freaked over that because it was on 12-inch. And you couldn't really do it on a single because the groove wasn't fat enough to get that sound. So when you put the 12-inch single on, it was that nail in the forehead that I was talking about. So slowly, drums have become more present, I think, in music, just generally speaking. And I know I'm very conscious of that when I'm doing my stuff. It's the drums really that I build everything round now. The drums are great. The bass is great. The all this lovely instrumentation that you've got going on, the way that you don't really settle with a groove and just go with the groove. You have that for a little bit and then you change it up and you do it again. Yeah, so I was really enjoying it. I just wanted to let you know that I'd listened to it again, and it's amazing. I think it's the best thing you've done. I would say, of what I've heard. I mean, obviously you've got more in the can, as it were, and I've got one in my can now. So I'm torturing that one to death right now.
I'm glad. I'm looking forward to hearing that, because that song to me, because the next one is the part 2 of the series, right? It's Hear the Future, the next album,
right?
And that song I sent you was the farthest removed from the sound, and it was on the chopping block at one point, but it keeps coming back, and mostly just because of it was like that was the song that started this whole thing. Like, that was the song that started the Taste of Future album. The next song I wrote was Taste of Future. Right. Taste of Future came right after that song. And then I started abandoning the heavy guitars a little bit. So when I wrote all these songs, I wrote like 3.5 hours worth of music for these 3 albums. And I cut out about 40 minutes of it because I thought 40 minutes of it was just a little too much. I'm trying to, because I didn't use my guitar that much, there's maybe 1 or 2 guitar tracks per album. So in the first one, Taste of Future is pretty much the only real guitar track. There's guitar here and there on the album, but Taste of Future is it's in your face. There's fuzz guitars all over the place, and they're super fuzzy. They're so fuzzy they're not fuzzy anymore. They're more razor blade, which I loved about that. So I felt like I really wanted to bring the guitars into the album still a bit. But that's probably why I'm struggling so much with the mix. I'm having a hard time making it sound like it belongs and getting the presence and the clarity that I think I got with this record. I still think there's a lot of shortcomings in the mixing and mastering. I'm still upset with the mix of Taste of Future. There's in the last 2 minutes of the song, there's a guitar part that's way too low that I wish I had pulled up. But at the same time, it sounds a lot like a guitar part that's happening other places in the album. So I think a listener might be sick of that part, by that point of the song. So maybe it's a good thing it's quiet, because it's probably I'm the only one that maybe appreciating that sound.
I didn't notice it.
Sure.
It didn't leap out to me. I didn't sense any imbalance there at all.
Perfect. It's just like the version of the song that's in my head versus the version that's out there. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a better way to do it. But
I also loved the which I didn't mention, which I should mention, is the singing. Of course, there's that song "Drowning in the Sublime," which is a Sublime song, but your voice has got a real character to it that you should be pleased about. It's you, and you don't sound like anybody else. Your lyrics aren't like anybody else, necessarily. Your tone's great. Your pitching's pretty good. I mean, you're not a stunt singer. But you can do a variety of different tones to get the meaning across. You've got a great sort of gravelly kind of screamy kind of angst that works really well. But you've also got a kind of sweetness that you can throw in. So you've got a good range there. So it's just a shame you haven't featured it until now. Because a lot of those of those old albums could benefit from hearing you better, because I think that's the character and soul of a piece of music, is the voice. To me, I mean, I know everybody's got different. We've talked about this before, that it's perfectly acceptable to have the vocals further back. It's not. There's no rule that says you have to have them, but to me, what I love about a vocal piece is to hear the voice and hear what's meant and what's intended, and pick up different things. When I was listening to it last night on both listens, each listen I picked up on different things. The lyrics are swimming into focus now more than they did on especially the first listen, where the lyrics I didn't really get them at all. But the first and second listen last night, the lyrics are beginning to come more into focus, because I'm getting used to the tone of your voice and all of that, you know. Maybe that's I know that other people hear lyrics more clearly than I do. It's maybe an autism thing, I don't know. But I
have the same problem.
Yeah, I know
same
that
issue.
my friend Alan, he hears lyrics really clearly, very quickly, you know. And how did you hear that? How do you know what he's singing about? I couldn't hear that at all. So it's different for different people, and you've got to kind of you've got to be comfortable with the way that you're presenting your own vocals. That's absolutely true. So if you weren't comfortable in the past presenting the vocals, you know, front and center, then that's fair enough. That's the way you did it, and that's the history. But I'm glad that you brought them more out of the mix into the front. I think it really works great. Really works great.
Well, thank you. You know, there's been a few people have helped bring some confidence in my voice, and I got a few friends that have taken it away, because I have a friend that listens to my music who can't stand my voice and isn't afraid to tell me that, you know, and I should probably ignore him, because I'm going like,
does he have
any,
is there any reasoning to that, or is it just a sort of, is he uncomfortable?
Well, he's not even, I think he just, honestly, I think he's just trying to be brutally honest. I don't think it's an ego thing at all. I think it's just, he just doesn't like my voice. It just isn't appealed to him. That's like the same way some people don't like Geddy Lee's voice, and people love it, you know? Yeah,
but he's not saying to you that you're singing out of tune, or that you're singing up your nose, or you can't understand what you're saying. Yeah. Has he got any practical advice, or is it just he doesn't like it?
No, it's funny, because he's one of those guys that has no way of verbally telling you why he doesn't like something musically. It's either I don't like it or I don't.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, he's the kind of guy, like, because I share a lot of music with him too. Like, I'll send him every day. I'll send him a link to a YouTube album I just found, and 99 times out of 100, he'll be like, "That's shit. and then he'll get something he likes. He'll be like, "That's amazing. Where's more of that?" And I'd be like, "Well, I shared you these other albums you didn't like, but these 15 you said were shit. Should sound good if you like this." Then he'll go back and listen to those again, and then be like, "Oh my God, those are good." And I'd be like, "If you really listen to all the music I sent you, it's actually good, but you're just like not in the right headspace for it." So he's one of those guys that he's only able to listen to music he's in the mood for at that moment. And it's up to you to figure out what mood he's in to please him, if you're looking to please him musically, which is a strange thing, because like just recently he got into Porcupine Tree like 2 weeks ago, and I've been listening to Porcupine Tree since 2002, and I've been friends with him since before that. It took him 22 years to be like, you know what, these guys are actually pretty good.
To be fair, it took me a while as well, Chris, because there was kind of some things that were off-putting about the way that they were presenting their music, I think. And I think Stephen Wilson's voice, funnily enough, since we're talking about the voice, Stephen Wilson's voice kind of, I found it kind of anodyne and unemotional. It didn't really speak to me at all. But then something clicked with it. So it probably took me 20 years to get into them, because my friend Michael was always going on about, he's seen them live, you know, umpteen times, and he was always going on about Porcupine Tree this, Porcupine Tree that, and he hated Radiohead because people said that Porcupine Tree sounded a bit like Radiohead, and he hated Radiohead because of that. And I was like, I like Radiohead, so and then I think that put me off Porcupine Tree. I thought, I don't know what I thought, but so it does. Sometimes it does take a while. It's funny that, isn't it? Sometimes it does take a while to get into something. I wonder if you did a track especially for that friend, which was like a really sweet vocal thing. You know, a big sort of multifaceted harmonic thing with all auto-tune to fuck, and just, you know, incorporated some of that. Would he? And don't tell him it's you.
Well, that I could figure that out. Now, mind you, he listened to Taste the Future. His response was, "Your voice is where it needs to be." So to add on to it, he thinks Taste the Future, my singing in that album, is great. He actually likes that.
He likes that. Oh, good.
So he did. But it's funny, I did write a song for him. It's ended up on the Carnival Creep Show, the one that called "Choke the Night Away."
Right.
Before it had lyrics on it, when it was just an instrumental, I wrote that song for him because he tends to listen to music that's got a rough edge to it. Like his two favorite bands are Mars Volta and Primus.
All right, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And yeah, so like, two terrible singers, right? Like Mars Volta on the albums, great voice, but you see him live, he can't hit a note to save his life. And Claypool is not great in a good day. On live, I don't know why he has a microphone, to be honest with you. But but it's and it's funny. He went to go see Primus play Rush's "Farewell to Kings" in its entirety. So you can imagine that Les Claypool singing Geddy Lee vocal parts for 45 minutes.
How the hell would that work?
Apparently it's brilliant. I didn't go see it because I was already moved to Nova Scotia when the show came around.
God.
But he loved it so much. He's a Rush fan now. He didn't like Rush before he saw Primus do Rush.
This guy sounds like a chameleon of all sorts. He likes sort of weird things from at different times.
What's weird, is I know you and I are both fans of Black Midi. Have you listened to the band Squid, which is like Black Midi's like twin brother?
Squid, I don't know. I'll write that down.
Yeah, they're because whatever label Black Midi's on, their independent record label, their other big act is Squid. Like they're the two big premier bands on there. And I found Squid through Black Midi, and I tried to show him Black Midi and Squid multiple times. Then the other night he made a comment about something I had sent him that he really liked. And I said, "Oh, you like that? Now you must be ready for Squid then and Black Midi." And he's like, "Why do you talk to me like that?" And I'm like, "Well, because if you don't like Black Midi, there's something wrong with you. It's not Black Midi. You're the problem." and so I sent them Black Midi's second last album and Squid's newest album, just links to them. He still doesn't like Black Midi, but now he's in love with Squid, which doesn't make sense to me because they sound like the same band to me in so many ways, So he likes Squid, so like he's big into Squid. So I sent him another album to listen to that I thought he would like, and his response was, "It's not Squid." And I'm like, "Yeah, so like Squid's only got 2 albums. Like you can't listen to those 2 albums forever." And I realized that in that moment, if it wasn't Squid, he didn't want to listen to it, and it was very strange. A band that now he loves that he couldn't stand before, And the way the Porcupine Tree thing happened was Black Star, David Bowie's Black Star. The first time I listened to the album was with him and my buddy Drew. We were tripping out. We listened to Black Star, eyes closed, crying our eyes out. Amazing night. So Black Star is for him one of the best albums ever made. If he's in the mood for some tasty saxophone, he puts on Black Star.
Right.
And so he sent me a text message the other night that said, "Lazarus, so good." And I said, "Are we talking the Perfect Circle ripoff that Bowie released? Or are we talking about the masterpiece written by Steve Wilson and Porcupine Tree?" And he's put like a question mark, like what's that supposed to mean? Like you're telling me David Bowie is a fucking scam artist with Lazarus, but Porcupine Tree's Lazarus is this amazing song. So I said to him, "Look, I love Black Star. I've talked about that's my favorite Bowie record. Lazarus is an amazing song, but Lazarus sounds like a Perfect Circle song to me. I don't know if you're a fan of or know of Perfect Circle, but if you listen to Perfect Circle, then you listen to Lazarus, you'd see why I'm saying that. The guitar, the drums, the tonality of it, the way the song flows. It sounds like he hired Perfect Circle to be his backing band for one song while he sang Lazarus, which is not a problem. I love Perfect Circle. I love David Bowie, and I've talked a lot about one of my favorite parts about David Bowie is how well he can incorporate the good music that's happening in the time. And Perfect Circle is a band that's modern, right? So I mentioned that to him, and he was offended that how dare I besmirch David Bowie and then try and claim that Porcupine Tree have a song with the same name that's better. So with that little bit of a jab, I sent him Lazarus, like a link to it. And then he wrote me back like 2 hours later and said, "I just finished listening to Deadwing, the whole album, the whole Porcupine Tree album with Lazarus all the way through." And he's like, "I've been so wrong about music for such a long time." That was his response. Because I think he realized that, like, not to compare apples to oranges or whatever, because I mean, David Bowie and Steve Wilson are completely different people. But the Porcupine Tree song Lazarus, which is like one of my least favorite Porcupine Tree songs, I think is miles ahead of David Bowie's Lazarus musically. Like as far as the harmonic structure, the piano parts, the harmonies, not just the harmonic structure of the melody, but the harmonic build at the end of the song. It's a beautiful song, and they're both about life and death. Except of course, the title like Lazarus, how could it not be? But they're different songs. Like they're not the same song by any stretch. And I think that pisses him off that he can talk about a beautiful song with a title like Lazarus, and I could be like, "What's a good Lazarus, but not the best Lazarus? Yeah. Here's another Lazarus," And I don't know. So it was neat to be able to do that, but it took me bad-mouthing David Bowie, comparing it to Perfect Circle, and then representing a song that's been around since 2005 for him to listen to it and go, "Okay, this is brilliant, I guess.
Yeah.
But
he grudgingly comes into the fold after decades in the wilderness. He finally realizes. Yeah.